Upon a timeline. Welcome to my live stream. All right, let's see who's on. Hopefully we're streaming now. Oh, yes, it says my status is good. Always a good sign. Let's see who's in now. Okay, who's here? QP first. I see you're back on the first section. You had kind of been slacking for a couple weeks. All right, Burgos, Dark Wolf's Den, Matthew T. Carla Red Pill, that's a good name. Jerry James, Jay Elliott, Jerry Jams. Sorry, got that one wrong. Belinda Brubaker. Kai Lucas Zachary. Shari D. I think we've got everybody. Oh, Freeman's Cryptoverse. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so what's up here? Let's get over to the right area. Okay, first one thing I want to talk about is the Rh negative blood group. This one was brought up by Bob Bobertson, and he mentioned that the Rh negative group has made it to about 15% of the population lately. So that's a lot. And I agree with him on this. He said he first heard of it a few years back. I think for me it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago that I heard of the Rh negative for the first time. They talked about it as it being really rare at that time, like really rare. And I had never heard of that pregnancy issue. Now, I had heard of having like B negative blood, but it wasn't a thing where you would risk incompatibility with your baby or anything when you were B negative in my old timeline. There just wasn't anything like that. And they didn't talk about Rh negative. They didn't talk about O negative or any of those things. There was just B negative or AB negative, and that was it. But apparently now any of the groups can be negative, O negative, B negative, A negative, whatever. And 15% of the United States is Rh negative. And the main area that really has them were the Basques. 30 up to 36% of people are 60% of them are Rh negative. So it's a lot. Let's see, wait, is that right? No, 21 to 36%. Okay, so they're saying that that's the main region where Rh negative people are coming from. This whole thing is just kind of weird to me because it just kind of grew up out of nowhere. Just lately, we've been hearing this kind of stuff. I don't know where this has come up from. That there didn't used to be enough Rh negative people to even have a stereotype about them, but lately they've been saying, there's of course the classic rumors of them being alien or something, but they're now being associated with having an extra vertebrae, unusual vision, intuition, red hair, different stuff like that. So I don't know where this is going, but there's definitely an expansion of the Rh negative blood group from what I first heard of, and I think that's interesting. Let's see. I think they're lying about the African American stats. African Americans. Yeah, they were saying actually that I saw this in a number of places that the Africans have the least amount of Rh negative, and there's of course the out of Africa theory that like most people are descended originally from an African race that spread across. And so then the Basques are sort of a whole different group. They also have a very unusual language that doesn't seem to be related to any other languages. So I don't know. The story kind of holds together, but the Mandela Effect is good at coming up with stories that sound okay. So it doesn't really surprise me. Could the higher numbers be due to more people getting DNA tests and just now getting more information on it? I don't think so, because, 6 years ago, people knew their blood type. I mean, you don't need a DNA test to get to know if you're Rh negative. They know from taking blood. It's one of the standard things that they have long in this timeline, long gotten this information because they need to know what blood you can and can't get, and so they need to know if you're Rh negative or Rh positive. So basically, it's standard blood test information. So yeah, I don't, technically, my mother always told me I was O. She didn't say O positive or negative because we didn't have that then. But I found out later that I was B positive. My mother's a big airhead, so she could have just been wrong. So I'm not going to say, oh, my blood type changed, because the chances are that she's just an airhead and she forgot. But one of these days I'll get it tested again and make sure that it really has not changed. But Africa has almost no negative blood type. Well, maybe that was true 6 months ago, but the stuff's always changing, so. Let's see. My ex-wife was B positive. Well, I'm sure there's a variation in the different personalities of the Bs. Africa, let's see. ME changes everything. Yeah, at this point, I wouldn't have put it past anything. Rh negative is rare. Yeah, not so much anymore. I mean, 15% of the United States is not that rare. I mean, think about it. Mia Romano, welcome. I'm on your topic of specialty. Yeah, there's actually a lot of other Mandela effects that people have been talking about with the blood groups and what the antigens, who has what antigens. And a lot of people think that the universal donor and the universal receiver have flip-flopped from what they remember. Yeah, I am not 100% on that. I mean, the system as it is now makes sense. I do think that it may be that it was opposite before. I would not be surprised, but I can't swear to it, so I'm not gonna go into it because I don't remember it very well. But like I said, a lot of people have said that they think that those types have flip-flopped. Okay. 7% are O negative, and O negative has always been the universal donor. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe for you, but a lot of people think there's a lot of different opinions on that one. Okay, so vampire deer would like that blood type. Yeah, the vampire deer, though, that's another Mandela. Showed up about 6 years ago. They had little short fangs back then. The fangs are about 3 times longer now, and there's more than one species. When I originally saw them, if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, there's deer with fangs. Deer with fangs. Oh yeah, look, they've gotten longer since last I looked. Water deer. Look at them fangs. Yeah, those are longer than before. Oh, what's that thing? Is that even real? The mouse deer. The mouse deer. All right, well, that has blue eyes and that has brown eyes. And it looks like the same photo, so there's something a little suspicious about it. Let's just see what this thing is. Can't click on anything without finding a Mandela anymore. Unlike many of their relatives, they do not have horns or antlers, but males do have small tusks. Malay mouse deer live in Thailand. Okay, so that's a deer with apparently big fangs. That looks like a mouse too. What do you know? Mouse deer. Larger Malay mouse deer bodies measure 29 inches. So they're like, God, that's barely a foot. So they're like big rats, basically. Okay, so those are new for me also. Some new kinds of deer that are mice-sized with big fangs. Look at those things. Shh. They really do look like rats. All right, so there's a new one we just found. All right, but back to, you can just you can just look all day at these animals. The heck is that? Look at the fangs on that thing. Tiny vampire deer has fewer chromosomes. The heck? Is that what they look like now? Come on, people. I guess I haven't looked at these for like a few months, but they were just normal gray looking deer last I checked. They didn't look like kangaroos. That looks like a dog almost. Look at those ears. The Siberian musk deer is one of that animals that seems improbable when you first hear about it. They weigh less than a cocker spaniel. Perpetually stooped posture, massive hind legs. They look more like kangaroos than deer. Haha, I'm not the only one who said it. Okay, so there's another weird one. They're the kangaroo deer. Let's see what else is in here. I'm sure I saw another weird looking thing earlier. Oh, this thing. Look at those. That one might be another one of those kangaroo. Just a stock photo. Not helpful. Anyway, okay, so there's a tangent for you. All right. All right. Okay, so that's the RH negative one. Covered that one then, basically. That one. All right, here is the thumbnail photo. Is these? This is Lurch. He was a Watusi deer. Now this is another one that I've seen the story slowly morph, and it's just a classical way that the Mandela operates. I had not heard of these Watusi deer, and then about 6 years maybe ago, there was a little blurb on them, and they said that, oh, this one deer has unusual horns due to a weird mutation, and they showed him versus the other ones, and this was him, this Watusi deer here with the giant horns. You can see how big he is. There's the thumbnail photo. So he just had very unusual horns. But the thing is, he only had horns maybe 2/3 this size when I saw him. They weren't this big. I mean, they were big looking already, but they weren't this big looking. Here he is, unusual angle. And then all of his brethren had these same kind of horns, maybe even just 1/3 the size this guy's horns. They had the same shape and everything. I notice now that the Watusi have all these different shapes of horns. It's not like anything I've saw originally. All of their horns are a lot bigger, and there are other Watusi deer who have had almost as big a horns as this guy now. Let's see, each one of these has a different shape now. Originally, they all had the same kind of horns. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because that's another one you can see how the story morphs. And at first, it's only a little shocking, and then they just keep growing like that and getting weirder and weirder. I think this one is a different one. I don't think that's Lurch. So supposedly Lurch passed away recently. What is that thing? Okay, so this is some new weird antler thing, horn thing. Interesting. Okay, no info on that guy. But I bet you'll see more of this, whatever the heck this is supposed to be. I didn't see that last time I was scanning through here even. A lot of times when they first come in, there's no info on them, just a photo, and it's like out of China, or it's just by itself. You'll start to see more of it most likely. There'll be a breed of deer that have a breed of bull that has that, or something. A lot of new animals here, just finding them by accident today. Okay, so that's the Watusi deer. All right, this is another one. Watusi deer was brought up by Bob Bobertson. He's the one who first, well, he's not the first one who saw it, but he brought that one up recently. All right. Okay, this one is one I found, and you might have been hearing about this lately. The three famous guys who escaped from Alcatraz, they tried to get away with a flotation device made of raincoats, and nobody ever knew what happened to them, and they assumed that they were drowned. I always was curious about that. I lived kind of near Alcatraz in the Bay Area, and so this story was kind of an extra famous one in my area. And they always said, oh, they surely died because of sharks, which I thought was suspicious because lots of people swim there and don't get eaten by sharks, and because it was so cold. And they always said that nobody had ever survived such a swim without special equipment. No one had ever survived. That was always the big argument for why these guys surely died, because nobody ever made it. And so I was rather shocked just recently, and this story has been making the news lately too, because supposedly one of these guys, a letter was found recently sent by supposedly by one of these guys, saying that they did escape, that they made it, and that they lived out their lives. Oh, here's another thing that has changed about that story, is that originally they did not have this paper mache head that they put in their bunks to make it look like they were still sleeping in there. They just had like some bundled up stuff. They didn't have a whole paper mache head. So this paper mache head thing is also a new thing on the story. Okay, so what shocked me though is they always said that these guys never could have made it, but now it turns out that 6 months after these guys tried, another guy tried, and he did manage to swim and survive all the way to shore. And that was just 6 months later, and it was like in the late 60s, I think. So, I mean, I should have heard about this because it happened long before I ever listened to the news or anything. So this should have been included in the story the whole time. John Paul Scott, an American criminal, noted as the only escapee from Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary known to have reached the San Francisco shore by swimming. He was recaptured almost immediately. So he swam, and they said he got caught in the current, and it took him out a little longer distance, and he was 3 miles from Alcatraz, and he wasn't in very good shape, so they were able to catch him right away. But he made it. And so there's no reason for them to have ever said that these other three couldn't have made it if this guy made it. It makes no sense. So this is definitely new. This guy who made it is totally new for me. Anyway, so now I want to talk about this less historical and more weird things. Now you've seen this blobfish, I'm sure. So basically, this fisherman photographs most disgusting creatures he finds at the bottom of the sea, and the pictures will give you nightmares. Okay, this blobfish is another one that keeps changing. When I first saw it years ago, it didn't have a nose. Also, the lower regions have gotten a lot more darker and all veiny now. The eyes are just looking a little bit more human-like. Basically, it looks more and more like a human. So that's one that, again, shows up and continues to change. I've never seen any of these things before. This one I've been seeing in lately, more deep. See, the anglerfish thing has gotten really popular. This thing was black before, but lately it's been very blue. Have not seen that thing before. That one I have seen, but when it first came out, it didn't have these weird teeth. Don't know that one. That one is the same as that one. I forgot the name just offhand, but these things with the big teeth, they get more ridiculous. Have not seen that thing. Lots of weird octopus lately. Don't know what that is. That must be one of the big gulpers, but I have not seen that particular one, nor that one. Oh, okay, and I think that's a weird snail or something. Anyway, I just want to cover that one. All right, I'm going to run back and see what you guys have been talking about. The movie Castaway, look at the outhouse walls he uses for a sail on his raft, has a big painting on it now. Yeah, I didn't know that movie well enough. I usually don't comment a lot in the movies because there's not a lot of movies that I've seen enough times that I really knew them, especially any of the recent ones, because I'm just not into watching TV that much anymore. How does that thing live with those huge horns? Yeah, I guess muscles are a lot stronger in this timeline. And it lived pretty long, too. Apparently, it was really friendly. You could see it also, even people would ride on its back. So it was able to carry all those horns and some people. I've been studying neg blood since 2002. Not in my timeline, you weren't. Maybe in yours. Guess I came in on the end of the neg blood talk. Yeah, there wasn't much to say, just saying I didn't have it originally. There was none. Now 15% of the United States has it. Yeah, makes the Texas longhorn dwarfed in comparison. Yep. Yep. Do people remember Freddie Mercury bisexual as opposed to gay? I didn't know him that well, so I'm going to leave it to you guys. I worked on Alcatraz Island back in 1993. Never heard of those two. Yep. Yep. The story was always those three couldn't have escaped because nobody had ever made it. But I think the distance is less now also. We talked about that before, the Golden Gate Bridge. Matthew T., I don't know if you remember the Golden Gate Bridge, but I remember it being longer. To find my images of it. Yep. See, it only has 2 uprights now. There used to be another one. It's just a lot shorter now than it was. let's see what the length is. It was quite a bit shorter. I think it's like 1.5 knot miles now. Only 2 uprates, and let's see, how long was it? I thought it was 1.5 miles last I looked. From abutment to abutment is 1.7 miles. See, it used to be a 3-mile long bridge. We always talk. I had to walk it when I was a kid. I was really tiny, so I was so whiny and my feet hurt and wah wah wah. And it was 3 miles, and we always I walk 3 miles. It was always 3 miles. So anyway, that's another change for me. We've covered that one before, though. How did he pass the sharks? You know, sharks rarely bite anybody. I mean, you can go out into the ocean thousands of times and never even see a shark. Every now and then somebody gets eaten or chomped, but basically you only get bit by a shark if you're really unlucky. I mean, it's like crossing the street. There's very little chance that you're going to get hit by a car. And in fact, the chance that you'll get hit by a car is greater than the chance that you'll get bit by a shark. I mean, assuming you don't work with sharks or something. So that's how you not get bit, by just being ordinary. Now, I always wondered about that, but they used to say that sharks don't like the taste of people. And so that we're not their prey animal. And then when they bite us, they'll usually spit us out. And they usually only bite us because they think we're seals. That was the story anyway. I always thought it was weird because it seemed like sharks would eat anything, but apparently not people. But who knows? Maybe that will change and will become shark snack next. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, so this weird sea life one, that was from Keel One, KEILL1. Found that website with all the weird fish on it. Good find. All right, this one is from commenter Joshua Vencedor, Vencedor. And I had just started hearing about this one too. So I had just heard about these things, these towers that supposedly the UK once built. Let me find those. So supposedly during the war, they built these towers, and then they destroyed all of them but this one for some unknown reason that they didn't get to it. And then some people kind of got on there and took it over and claimed it as their own country. And then there was a whole drama because somebody else stole their country from the first ones. And they've declared themselves to be their own country. And they, for a while, supposedly were outside of the boundaries of the UK. And there's this whole big story, but apparently these people still live on there. And they were issuing, like, passports and all kinds of weird stuff. And I just heard about this. Just heard about these fortresses recently, but I had not heard about people living on them. So apparently this has been going on for a long time. And I believe that this is the website of the owners, the usurpers, the current people of Dominion on Sealand. Let's see if we can get there. All right, website open. So you can become a lord or lady of Sealand. I think they charge you or something. Good way to earn money. All right, their website's not doing so good, though. Not Sealab, Sealand. I hope they don't want refuge when the sea level rises. Looks like they're pretty far up. Everybody's going to be screwed if it rises that much. Okay, let me see. It could be that my computer is not working so well. I'm going to delete that one. Let's see if anything will come up. Oh, eBay comes up. All right. History. Now, I think I read some of this history, and it seems like they left out a few things, like how they took it from somebody else. Located in international waters, the military fortress of Ruff's Tower. Sealand is the smallest country in the world. You can get a nobility title from the Principality of Sealand. Become a count or countess, become a duke or duchess is only $740. Now, apparently, these passports and stuff for a while were being accepted in the UK until somebody committed some kind of crime, and then the UK revoked all of the passports. But it's just, the whole story is just weird. And Sealand is a micronation. I've never heard of that before. Joshua Vencedor was saying the same thing. Never heard of this concept of micronation. It's a disused Monzel sea fort, originally called HM Fort Ruffs. Okay, what the heck is a Monzel sea fort? This is what I was just hearing about recently. They built all these forts. Now, have you ever seen this before? Have you ever seen these things? So these were really built. This is not CGI or anything. They built them along, I guess there's the locations they built them. I'm not sure if that's Sealand. It looks like it might be. This is describing how they sank them. There's some more of them. Never seen those before. There we go. Oh yeah, before for a while there were some radio stations had set up shop in some of these. I have to go all the way back now. We're getting there. Armed towers built in the Thames and Mersey estuaries during the Second World War to help defend the United Kingdom. Decommissioned in the late 1950s, and later used for other activities including pirate radio broadcasting. Boats visit the remaining forts occasionally, and a consortium called Project Red Sands is planning to conserve the forts situated at Red Sands. That's interesting, because I thought I was just reading that they were all torn down except for Sealand. In the summers of 2007 and 2008, Red Sands Radio, a station commemorating the pilot radio stations of the 1960s, operated from Red Sands Fort on 28-day restricted service licenses. The fort was subsequently declared unsafe, and Red Sands Radio has moved its operations ashore. Okay, anyway, I've just never even heard of these things until just like a few months ago. So I thought I would bring it up. The Sealand thing, also, I didn't hear of that until Joshua brought it up. All right. Let's see what you got. Pirate radio is a big thing in my reality. Well, yeah, it could be, but were they on sea forts? I'm in the UK. I never heard of it. Yeah, and they're really cool, too. I mean, wouldn't you want to go sneak over and see one of those things? Each micronation have a totally weird history. There are several, even 2 or 3 inside United States. Okay, let's check that out. Micronation inside USA. Malosia. Bordering United States, found by Kevin Baugh and headquartered at his home near Dayton, Nevada. Because of legal loopholes, legislation, and international treaties, micronations should be considered sovereign nations and recognized as such. All right, let's look up this Malosia one. The land use of the property identified as being within the county is manufactured home converted to real property. We all want to think we have our own country, but you know the U.S. is a lot bigger. All right, so it sounds like he just declared several properties within the United States, just like houses, and said that it's a micronation. Bo purchased a small piece of rural land in Northern California. This was referred to as the colony of Farfalla. All right, so he's got a bunch of these. One named Desert Homestead Province in Southern California. Never heard of that one either. The property has been declared a national monument. Desert Homestead Province. Okay, I'm going to check that out since I live in Southern California. Claims to be at war with East Germany. Okay, this whole stuff is just weird. Desert Homestead, West San Bernardino County, northeast of the town of Yucca. 5 acres in size, open to low desert. Okay, so it's just a little spot out in the middle of the desert. Still, this is kind of an interesting to keep an eye on with these micronations. I also have not heard of it. They're starting out pretty small right now. But, I don't know. Interesting. Tartaria. Tartaria, is that a country now? Tartaria, the Middle Ages until the 20s. All right, Tartaria. So it doesn't exist now. I've never heard of it, though. An empire hidden in history. It was bigger than Russia. Oh, okay. I think we were talking about this, like about 6 months ago. Bounded by Siberia. Okay, so I'd heard of the Tartars, but I'd not heard of a huge area called Tartaria. Bigger than Russia. Anytime you hear an empire hidden in history, whenever they say it was hidden, you forgot or you don't know, then... Anyway, interesting. Russia's history is so different now for me. Are these cults or hippie libertarians starting these sovereign micronations? Doesn't seem like they're cults. They didn't really say if they were libertarians, but it kind of sounds like maybe something like that. For people not in the United States, a libertarian is, you might be familiar with Democrats and Republicans, but libertarians are a third group that just kind of believe in minimal government and do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt others, kind of a thing. Christina Gerald, see you later. Thanks for coming. I'm scared that it's just 1984 and the drugs are taking and people are just agreeing to their changed internet altered information. Yeah, see, it's not just internet altered though. The books in the attic change, everything changes. So it's not just internet altered. Okay, so anyway, that's weird. All right. Okay, this interesting bird was found by Diana Avina, another commenter on the channel. This is a weird looking bird and it's 4 foot tall. Apparently there's more than one kind of these birds too. This one is maybe coming along in the vein of the shoebill. They're very goofy with this funny feathers. So you can see a good look at that. The feathers stick out really weird. It's got, you see different colors on this. This one has yellow eyes. This one has orange eyes with huge eyelashes. It really does look like another Dr. Seuss bird. And I'm seeing them also with these poof ball heads and this goofy hat thing. So these are big birds. Apparently they're really good at fighting snakes. So yeah, I've never heard of this thing before. They have a very distinctive look to them. They can kick with 195 newtons, which apparently is a really powerful kick. They're a real skinny little bird, but apparently they pack a wallop. Anyways, I would keep an eye on these. I suspect these are going to continue to morph, similar to how the shoebill did. Very interesting. Anyway, never saw those before. Okay, here's another really weird thing I've never heard of. Maybe you've seen your deer antlers before, but I don't know if you've heard of cactus buck. So it's a different kind of antler. Supposedly, if they have irregularities in their hormones, their testosterone, then it causes their antlers to grow all different kinds of weird. They call them cactus bucks because supposedly the antlers look like cactus. Now, one thing that happens is that normally they will grow out these antlers and then once a year the antlers will fall off and then they'll start all over the next year. So supposedly these cactus buck, the antlers don't fall off. They're kind of in a perpetual state of growth. So they get all these weird shapes. Another excuse basically for these things to look like mutants. Look at that. I mean, it used to be testosterone would just make you, lack of testosterone would just make you small. But now look at that thing. It really looks like cactus. Of course, they're saying it's rare, but there's quite a few pictures of these things. Okay, here's an interesting one. Very interesting one. Another thing they're saying is that due to careful breeding and special diets, they're growing these buck now as pets. It seems like deer are a lot more pet-like than they used to be. I mean, granted, they weren't the most aggressive of creatures, but look, there's another really weird one. Supposedly, they're also growing them with like monster racks now, just huge deer racks, the antlers, because they're crossbreeding them. And so like they were saying that this one deer grew such huge antlers every year that he would lose 100 pounds of his body weight just to grow these antlers. That one has it growing the wrong way. There's just so much of this weird business here. So that's what they're supposed to look like. Wait, what was that thing? Anyways, I can go on and forever looking at these weird things, but deer have changed a lot for me. There's a lot of piebald ones and irregular colors. They used to just be gray. So there's that's the white-tailed deer. They used to just be gray all over except for the tail. It's another blurry image of one. Anyway, so I think we're going to see more of these mutant deer. No says, I've never seen this and I used to hunt with my uncle for years. Yeah, I think you'll see this more and more. It's like the Rh negative, you know, they say it's rare and then pretty soon it's 15% of the population. So anyway, yeah, cactus deer are what they're calling them. Cactus buck. They look like, their heads look like a cactus. Okay, so, all right, this is another one. Owls are another one that have changed a lot. Owls used to be sort of plain looking. Their main claim to fame was that spinning head. But apparently now they have these huge, long, creepy legs now. It looks like a little dude in an owl suit. But anyway, that's what their legs look like now. Now, basically, in my timeline, birds had skinny talons with like kind of a scaly leg material. They did not have these like pants made out of feathers like these so many of the birds now have. They didn't have fur going down there, or they didn't have feathers going down their legs at all. So anyway, a lot of people commenting on how it looks creepy. All right, now here's another one for you guys who are into the chemtrails. I'm sure you're going to say, I told you so. Not finding my original article. All right, let me look up this one. There it is. All right, so we've been hearing about it for years. Are they spraying chemicals to try to dim the sun? Well, supposedly now they're really going to do it. Whether they're doing it or not, of course, already is certainly a big question, but now they're going to admit to it anyways, is another way to say it. First sun dimming experiment will test a way to cool Earth. So basically, they're going to spray this powder in the air. At one point, they call it calcium carbonate. At another point, they call it sulfur that they'll be spraying. They're comparing it to like when Mount Pinatubo erupted and there was a lot of high stratosphere dust, that kind of thing. So they're saying that they're going to start doing it now. They're going to test it, they said. So anyways, I just thought it's not an Emmy at all, but I just saw that today, and I thought you guys might want to hear it just for fun. Because just it may well be that pretty soon we'll have always done that. Okay, here's another. Speaking of giant cows. Sometimes you just watch those videos where you just feel like it must be CGI or something. So the story behind this one is this cow is so big that it can't be slaughtered because it won't fit in the machine. So this cow is called Knickers. These are all the normal cows. See if this will load. It's supposed to be a Holstein. No word about whether it had some sort of mutation or anything. But supposedly this guy is like twice as big as all the others. And they're just going to let it live out its life on the grasslands there. Seems to do fine health-wise, which is interesting. I think in the old days you would find that it couldn't walk well or things like that. But in this timeline, things can be a lot bigger and survive pretty well. All right, I'm going to kill that one. All right. I've never seen anything like this one either. What's interesting is last year I saw my first tumbleweed in this area. I've lived in LA, I've lived in Bay Area, and I've lived here for about 20-something years. Never saw a tumbleweed here until last year. It was the first time I saw several. And there's one in my yard now. It's in the front, I haven't thrown it out. So I've never seen so many tumbleweeds anywhere. I've never heard of them taking over a town. But apparently, this was, I think, in Arizona or something. But yeah, tumbleweeds, they're definitely spreading. That's all I have to say. Oh, Victorville. Oh, it's California. Okay, it's not that far. So anyway, another weird one. Doink. Alright, there we go. Alright, this one, I got this one from the channel called Curiouser and Curiouser. There was a quick mention of this one. I just thought that it bore a little bit more coverage. And I wanted to add a few things. Okay, and why this is interesting. So supposedly there's this funky island in the water here, and so there's like a circle in the middle, and the circle spins around. So the area of water that shows changes. So it's like a floating island. And one thing that Curiouser and Curiouser didn't cover was the fact that this supposedly spins around. So you can, it doesn't show it on video though, not yet. I think this is a really new thing, and there's not a lot of info on it. But the center island spins on its own axis inside the small lake. Curiouser and Curiouser did not catch that part that I saw. I don't see any video on it, but a lot of places are saying that it does that. So it was let's see, I think Ojo de la Tierra. Yeah. Which means eye of the earth in Spanish. Okay, and this is Eye of Sahara. That's a different one. You can kind of see it does look like it changes what is visible there. It's a pretty big area. Somewhere there was an image of... Okay, this kind of gives you an idea. It's not totally massive. Not yet. But a lot of these things do get bigger with time. So I'm trying to find a picture of with some person sitting next to it. Because then that can give you an idea of scale. Because I have a feeling that what's going to happen is this thing is going to get larger. That's been my experience. But try to get a feel for it with those grasses. Hopefully I could find... I saw one before that had an image of a person visiting it. But you can see it's not Giganosaurus yet. Darn it. I'm not seeing it now. Anyways, that's interesting. Oh, what's that? Okay. What, are there more of them? Don't remember these. A whole bunch of floating islands. So there's more than one of them? Interesting. Wonder if they're going to say what causes them. All right, let's check this out. Hopefully it loads. Producer and film director Sergio Newspiller discovered it when filming in the area and has since started a Kickstarter to raise funds to investigate it further. All right, so there shows the island. Been in existence since at least 2003. The date of the oldest Google Earth image of the location. Here is an animation showing how it moves over time. Oh, cool. All right. You know, I was looking for this the other day and I couldn't find it. All right, so it bounces around. Interesting. The phenomena is quite rare because the conditions must be just right. Floating islands of plants are themselves quite rare, but in addition, it requires a current through a fairly slow-moving one. Okay, now it shows the ice circles. As you can see, the phenomenon does occur with ice. Yes, knew about the ice circles, although those are an ME for me, but not a very recent one. We also found a reference to one in Okavango Delta. All right, so I think we're going to see a lot more of these and a lot bigger ones. Floating islands. Interesting. Okay, so floating islands are a thing. Look at that. I suspect we'll find bigger and bigger ones as time goes on. I don't know the story, apparently, that it's plants, but I mean, obviously they're going to have to be holding on to some kind of dirt, and somehow the dirt is going to not get washed away by the water. That would always would have happened in my old timeline is that the dirt would get washed away. So interesting. All right, so floating islands, cool. So yeah, Curiouser and Curiouser had that on there, but she didn't that I saw did not mention about how they spin. So she might have missed that part. And that there are more of them. Okay, here's another one. I think we covered this a bit last time. Mount Olympus used to be just someplace that was in myth where the ancient gods lived. Now apparently Mount Olympus is a real mountain. I can't swear that wasn't there, but I did not know of it as being a real mountain. The highest peak in Europe, Olympus, was notable in Greek mythology as the home of the Greek gods. I just remember Olympus as a mythical place that the gods live, not a real mountain. I wouldn't swear to that one, though, but I'm suspicious. That one is from Bob Bobertson. Okay. One more weird. This one is from AH, another commenter on the channel. There's been some stuff about butterflies eating cat food. Apparently that's been making the ME rounds, but it's gotten more creepy than that. On my timeline, butterflies drank nectar, but in this timeline, they eat cat food and they drink blood and all kinds of things. So this guy caught this video of this butterfly quite obviously sticking its proboscis or whatever they call that sucking tube into the blood and drinking it. That just wasn't the case in my old timeline. That actually is just really creepy. I mean, it's just something like out of a horror story, because these things were always something that was kind of a pure creature. Last time I think I covered how they, when caterpillars go into the pupa stage, they almost completely liquefy and then reemerge as a butterfly, which is also another Emmy for me. So just very different creatures. It's just something that you would see when they were trying to be super creepy and horrible in a movie or a show. But now it's real life. All right. So, all right. Now this one is an interesting one. Commenter Sapioid made some, I think it was just kind of a prediction or, an offhand comment on one of the videos on triple-stranded DNA. And what I do sometimes when people say, next thing you know, blah, 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 is I look it up. Because it just seems like anything that you can think of now is going to come true or in some form. Triple-stranded. All right, so apparently there are sections now of our DNA that have triple strands. Instead of just the regular double helix, there's an additional strand in there. Triple-stranded DNA, in which 3 oligonucleotides wind around each other and form a triple helix. Now, traditionally, it was always a double helix. So now we have these areas in the body that are triple helix. There are 2 classes of triplex DNA, triplex DNA, intermolecular and intramolecular formations. It's all kind of complicated stuff, but basically there are areas that we have triple helix now already. I suspect that this is going to grow. Sapioid had it right. I can't say I'm shocked at this point. Maybe I'm a little bit shocked, but yeah, no, we only had a double helix before on our DNA, not a triple helix. Considerable research has been funneled into the biological implications relating to presence of triplex DNA, the major breakpoint regions, and double-strand breakpoints of certain genes. All right. Was a common hypothesis in 1950s. Originally considered a triple helix. That's not what I remember in the histories at all, that they did not consider a triple helix. They just didn't know. And then they saw an image and they were racking their brains on it, and then they finally realized it was a helix. Pauling and Corey published a proposal for their triple helix model in 1953. Triple-stranded DNA was also described in 1957, when it was thought to occur in only one in vivo biological process as an intermediate product during the action of E. coli recombinant enzyme RECA. Its role in that process is not understood. Anyway, it's all scientific, yeah, but basically we have triple DNA in some spots now. All right, this next one is from Bob Bobertson again. All right, so apparently, in my old timeline, if even one cat survived with the double face, it was a miracle. I don't think any ever did, to my knowledge. They would all be born dead. But in this timeline, cats can get born with a double face, and they have their own name. They're called Janus cats. Janus. Yeah, cats. And quite a number of them survived. This is kind of a famous one, Frank and Louie. So one of these faces does the eating and one just kind of sniffs and hangs out. They're saying that these things share the same brain, so they're not really two cats. I don't know why they named it two different names, but what's weird is they have their own name. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see more of these things. All right, so you can see there's quite a number of them. Some of these cats are older, so they live for a while. That one's older. These are not young ones either. It looks like they share like one eye in the center. I've never seen so many of these things, but they have their own name now. Woohoo. Is that a real one? Real or photoshopped? I'm going to make a wild guess that it's photoshopped right now, but I think it'll be coming. Anyway, a lot of these things now. The heck is that thing? Interesting cat. All right, so anyway, there's a number of them. Oh yeah, this was a thing I forgot to mention. It's caused by too much sonic hedgehog protein, believe it or not. This protein essentially tells the face what to look like. If the protein tells the face to be too wide, it results in duplication of features. If the face forms too narrow, you'll have the opposite issue called cyclopia. All right. Now, in my old timeline, there were no creatures, no cyclopia creatures that lived. I'm kind of curious. Let's just take a quick gander and see if any cyclopeas lived. Once I saw, I don't know if you guys remember, a few years ago, there was that shark with cyclopea, the one-eyed shark. Ugh. These are, okay. Probably not worth looking at. All right. I'll let you guys look at that on your own time. All right, we covered that one. All right. This one's a little bit less disgusting. See this giant land crab. Anyway, Janus cats were by Bob Boberson. This land crab thing, is by Ray Strickland. See if I can find this one. Oh, there must be a lot of them because this is still not the one I remember. Okay, basically, these coconut crabs are now attacking live birds, big ones. Now, they used to just eat coconuts. They used to not be that blue colored like they are now. All right, so this crab has caught this bird and he's going to eat it. Crabs used to be just scavengers. They didn't catch giant birds like this. So this bird's going to die and he is going to eat it. This is a big coconut crab. They've gotten a lot more hefty since I originally knew them. Some of them are very blue now. They have all different colors. Oh, look at that. Even if you just type in coconut crab, it shows it killing the bird now. The colors on these have changed a lot, and they're bigger than I remember. And some are very blue now. See, these are big boys, some of them. I don't think that garbage can's very big. I don't think that's a full-size one, but still. Ooh, look at that thing. Okay, maybe it is a full-size one. Anyway, so anyway, they're getting more aggressive. That's all I have to say. The coloration on this one, look at this. They used to be just plain. So anyway, coconut crab have many Emmys just in their looks and size, but now we also have that they catch and kill live birds. All right, this last one is, I'm actually cranking along today, so let me just check the comments and see where we are. I don't have as many this night than I do. I'm kind of running low on them, I guess. There's only like 20 or 30 today. New island in Hawaii. Check that one out. Hawaii's formed a new tiny Hawaiian island. Oh, interesting. I bet you it's going to get bigger. Okay. Practically overnight, the Hawaiian Islands gained a new member, a tiny island nudged above the ocean surface. It's raining. Only a few meters offshore and measures 20 to 30 feet. Believe the island is a result of a submarine tumulus where molten lava rises from upward pressure. The island appeared to be the distal extent of the Fissure 8 flow that is entering the Pacific Ocean. Huh. Okay. I wonder if that'll get bigger with time. Should be interesting to keep an eye on it. Pirate radio was on ships in the 60s in the UK. Huh, well, apparently it was also on those forts now. Anyone who doesn't believe in the Mandela effect, this channel is still educational. Yep, I'll find all the weird stuff for you. Type in Mandela Effect Hawaii. I do believe there are new islands that I don't remember. Not just that little puny one. I wasn't a Hawaii expert, but I don't remember there being... I don't remember there being all the islands that there are on Hawaii, associated with Hawaii. Same thing with Japan. There's new ones on there for me. Oh, Bluebeard. All right, I'm not going to listen to a whole big long thing, but... All right, I don't see the specific one, but... Is there a micronation there? There's... Yeah, it probably has to cool off first. How are these countries popping up and nobody's asking where and how? Shari D, I know, and I only can think that one of two. Well, there's three things I think could be. And one theory I have is that basically maybe our geological area is kind of a little island. Maybe we ended up moving to the place that is going to, like, we all congregate in a similar area that are going to a similar place. For instance, like, I decided to move to San Diego. I didn't really have really wonderful reasons for it. It just seemed like a plan at the time. Maybe everybody that's going my general direction in the timelines also moved here. Then we can have our area only change a little bit. But other areas maybe are from other timelines. I don't know if that's right, but maybe these weird countries existed in other timelines and now they've come to ours. So therefore, people who live around there, maybe they're from that timeline also, and they don't think that country's weird. Okay, that's theory number one. Theory number two would be maybe those people just got their memory heavily altered. The people in that region, and so they just, and maybe some of them are freaking out, like just like I'm freaking out about their Channel Islands off the coast of California, or they just think they're dumb and they don't want to admit it or whatever, but maybe they are somewhat freaking out over it, and then other locals had their kind of got the download. Okay, that's theory two. Theory three is that maybe there's just a whole bunch of non-player characters in that region. There's a few things that I've noticed, and that is areas that are very new to me also show up on the map as recently being devastated by some horrible disaster. So like islands I've never heard of in the Caribbean got clobbered by giant hurricanes and were supposedly completely devastated. Well, to me, they never existed at all. So maybe they started out devastated, and then now they'll build up, and we all heard of them. Maybe none of those people on that island were even real. Maybe they're all NPCs. I don't know, I don't know which of those three. I sometimes hope it's number three, because that means that some of the devastation is an illusion, basically. Maybe millions of people weren't killed, or thousands, or whatever. And it's just part of the storyline. It's like the background story. But that last one is kind of a favorite one for me. But I just like the idea of it, and that's why it's a favorite one. I don't know if there's really more evidence for it. But the fact that new areas get this huge amount of devastation makes me really suspicious about them. In many ways. So the other one in the U.S. is the Conch Republic. Conch Republic. I mean, I don't know. As long as these people pay their taxes, will the U.S. leave them alone? That's sort of weird. Is a tongue-in-cheek secession of the city of Key West, Florida, from the United States in 1982. It has been maintained as a tourism booster for the city since. All of the Florida Keys is the Conch Republic. They were original demonstrations were motivated by frustrations over genuine concerns. U.S. Border Patrol roadblock and checkpoint that greatly inconvenienced residents and tourists. Huh, interesting. There's always some kind of excuse by why it's allowed to continue. Each one of these micronations is left alone, it seems. This one because it's good for tourism. I don't know. Just interesting. I mean, will we eventually find out that these nations really are separate nations or what? But I think this one is definitely... I think this one's definitely worth keeping an eye on, these micronations. I don't think that this is just a coincidence that we're hearing about these now. They're really small right now. They seem like a big joke in many ways. But the Conch Republic actively maintains an Army, Navy, and Air Force whose primary duties are to help reenact the Great Sea Battle of 1982 and the retaking of Fort Jefferson. Huh, weird. Souvenir passports and vehicle registration. Okay. 2006, there was annexation of Silver Mile Bridge. Annexed the abandoned span of 7 Mile Bridge, which had been replaced by a parallel span in 1982. Huh. Okay, I don't know. Just seems weird that all of this was allowed to continue. Strange. Am I bad at geography? But does anyone remember Svalbard? No asks. Yeah, Svalbard. I think it was about 2 years, 1.5 years ago. People started asking about Svalbard. It has the Global Seed Bank on it. A lot of people remember the Global Seed Bank as having been in Canada, not on Svalbard. Now, when I first heard of Svalbard, it was one island. Now it's a chain of a group of islands. It was used to be Svalbard Island. Now it's Svalbard Islands. Let's see. Can we get a bigger map, guys? All right. Here they all are. 1, 2, 3, 4. All of these are Svalbard Islands now. So it's growing. Svalbard is a lot bigger than it was. Not as big as Kazakhstan has gotten, but yeah, they start out small and they get fat. It's gonna be huge soon. Or if they're a country, Svalbard Islands. It's a governor, so I guess it's a state. Norwegian archipelago in the Arctic Ocean. So it's Norway's. It's gotten quite large, though. Somehow I've gotten way back in the... Did you do the splendid bird of paradise? I don't know if I ever covered that one. A lot of people covered those weird things. I think most people know about those by now. But yes, they are an ME for me. This ridiculous. I think I've covered one of them. This ridiculous smiley-faced bird. So it dances around with this weird smiley thing. Oh, that's a different one there. There's a whole bunch of them now. This one has a lot more color on the neck now than it did originally. All right, here's the original one. This is the first one. Just ridiculous. Anyways, so yeah, bird of paradise, ridiculous. Esther Anders is in. I wonder if it's crashed. It looks like nothing has been added for a while. I'm going to reload that and see what happens. All right, that thing is struggling to load. Let me just see what's going on over here. Yeah, it looks like you guys have talked a lot since that other one stopped. All right. Oh, it's not wheat and chaff anymore? Separate the wheat from the chaff. Oh, it's wheat and tares now? I don't even know what that is. Really? Okay, well, there's so many Bible Mandelas. It's ridiculous. I feel like the ME has been going on forever, only now we're becoming cognitive to it. It quite possibly may have been going much more slowly. I definitely remember MEs back in the 90s, possibly some before that, but nowhere near at the speed it's been going. Something has really kicked into high gear. Lord of the Flies, Conch Republic. Yeah. Oh, was that in the Lord of the Flies? Really? The Lord of the Flies, Conch Republic? That would be kind of creepy. Oh, that would be creepy. The conch shell is a symbol of authority. Okay, so they don't technically call it the Conch Republic. That would be extra creepy. It does not look like they did, but I do remember them blowing the conch. All right, where are we here? The chat still hasn't opened on the other computer. Do they follow our Constitution, vote, pay taxes? Apparently. I didn't really say much about it, but they have their own little armies and stuff. I don't know. The whole thing is just, I mean, they're definitely not that impressive yet, but I just think it's something we should keep an eye on how it develops. Wonder who else does or has. I've noticed that smokers or ex-smokers seem much more alert to changes and have better long-term memory. I don't know. I've known a lot of, well, not a lot, but I've known a number of weed smokers, and in my experience, they have terrible memory if they smoke daily. Occasional smokers, it doesn't seem to affect you, but. This one guy I knew, he couldn't even remember. He liked to play tennis, but he could never remember the score. It was ridiculous. He could never remember the score. I mean, even just from like one point to the next, he's already forgotten it. If Andorra has always existed, why no celebrity photos on vacay there? Why no major stars from Andorra? Yeah, Andorra is new for me also. Large round-shaped objects submerged in the ice. So there is that at Svalbard. Interesting. Now maybe they'll just say it's like some kind of boat or observation device or whatever. But yes, that is interesting. What about that group of German islands? Australia's gotten more islands too. List of islands in Germany. Oh yeah, because Germany wasn't it wasn't coastal before, so. Oh, interesting. Yeah, Germany was not coastal for me originally. It was Sweden, Finland. That little appendage sat on top of Germany and Poland for me. So they moved over to Russia suddenly. That was like a big freak out for me. Only a few people really noticed. A lot of people noticed that Poland had become coastal, but they couldn't remember what was on top. And I actually took me the whole day to remember what was on top. It's weird. It's like it's hard to remember the past. The girl with two heads. New guy, new guy. Yes, we've covered that one. Yes, that is weird. She showed up. They showed up maybe like 8 years ago. They said that the parents said, "Oh, we kept it a secret until they were old enough to decide for themselves." But pretty tricky keeping something like that a secret with the kids going to school and everything. It would be hard to do. It would take a whole day to cover the Bible changes. I think longer than that. I haven't researched Greenland. Greenland is over where Arctica used to be. Greenland has been moving north. It's almost on the North Pole now. I've been watching that for the last 2 years. And Greenland's a lot bigger. I really do need to get over this ME. It's ruining my life. Sharon Gray. Try to hold it together. I don't know what's going on in your life, but it does seem like overall, as weird as the ME is, life still goes on. You know, bills get paid, jobs are found, the economy's normal as it ever is. So it's something that once you kind of get used to, it's just something that happens. That the Emmy is just something that happens, and you can adapt to it. And I think that's the trick: is you just have to just change your attitude about the nature of reality. And once you can do that, you know, it slowly becomes easier. I mean, it took me a few years, definitely, but it is a lot easier now than it used to be, by far. I mean, a lot of things it's like how you decide to think about them in some ways. Make a choice. I know that sounds really simplistic, but in some ways you do decide how you decide to think of something. I mean, even if it is the end times, you know, the end times is not the end for everybody. But I really do think that we're being protected, because if you look at it, all these things have happened, yet everything seems fine. People around you don't even notice. So, I mean, it would have to be a huge effort to get all this to happen and yet not disrupt our lives that much. Okay, so what was that last thing I wanted to talk about? Okay, this is the last one, and this is from Bob Bobertson. Apparently, I mean, you've kind of heard of the San Francisco earthquake, and then in recent years, oh, the fire was worse than the earthquake, and so many places burned, and now they're saying there was a fire that totally leveled New York, and I'm always curious when you see something, the forgotten fire that leveled New York. So that's another thing you always knew, didn't know, forgot about, never knew. That's just like a classic Emmy thing. The East River froze, yet onlookers crowded on its banks in Brooklyn that night watching New York burn down. Entire financial district went from thriving center to pile of ash. This is another interesting one, like you would not hear about this. The river itself even burned at one point as turpentine leaked from storehouses onto the water, chased by fire. The whole city seemed an awful sheet of flame. Known as the Great Fire of 1835, the conflagration destroyed $500 million worth of property, leveled 17 city blocks, and nearly took down a booming city. So, yeah, never heard of it. Extra drama with the river itself on fire. Anyways, just another history thing I bet you never heard of, because I'm very suspicious it was not in my timeline. All right, and that's the main one I have for today, so I'm just going to check out what you guys are up to. I noticed there's also a new chain of islands off of Venezuela coast. Also, Panama got several coastal bites, as you can see clearly in the map. Yeah, that bite business. A lot of the alterations in the islands or in the coastlines are like little bites. Let's see, what was that Panama we were talking about? Yeah, Panama map. Of course, the Panama is so stretched around now. It used to be vertical, now it's sideways. Okay, I haven't been watching it diligently enough to know where the bites are. I can tell you where the bites are in California, though. Classic bites. Right here, we've been losing a lot of land. They've been chunking bites out of there. And look at all these freaking islands. Oh my God, I'm going to have to look at those again. Oh, there's a bunch of them now. Look at those. Channel Islands. Wonder why it says Channel Islands here when they're all in there. A lot of these new ones that are coming up, the new ones have, a lot of times they'll say there's military bases on them. Look at this one, looks like it's about ready to get chewed in half. That was not the shape of Catalina Island for me before. Look at that. That one's about to calve off. Interesting. Yeah, no, that was not. San Clemente was not there. Look at, it's almost as big as Catalina. What the heck are these things? I screwed this one up. Santa Rosa Island, never had that. Santa Cruz Island, also new. We had a Santa Cruz, but not a Santa Cruz Island. Santa Barbara and Anacapa Islands. San Miguel Island. San Nicolas Island, no. There's no San Nicolas Island. Let's see what this little doublet over here is. That might be the newest one. Does it have a name yet? Oh, Santa Barbara Island. Oh, I thought there was Santa Barbara Island over here. No, Santa Rosa Island. San Miguel. Okay, anyways, oh, okay, this also said Santa Barbara Island, so obviously it's not. Oh, there's a big string of them over here. Okay, so this is Anacapa Island. What's this thing then? Anacapa Island Special Closure B, Anacapa Island Special Closure IA, Anacapa Island. All right, see, that's a separate island now, but it doesn't seem to have its own, it doesn't have its own name yet. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's a whole nother island. I bet this one's going to get its own name. I have to keep an eye on that. It's really like 3 islands. It's ready to be 3 islands. I'm going to have to definitely keep an eye on Santa Barbara Island out there. I mean, Anacapa Island. That's Santa Barbara. Anyway, all of these are new. Catalina is pretty old for me. But I do remember being... I learned about that maybe 15 years ago, and I do remember being surprised about Catalina Island's existence back then. So that might be a very old ME for me, but it's been around for a while. And a lot of bite marks coming out of here. A lot of changes in the roads. I've covered that stuff before, though. Our harbor's getting Giganosaurus now. Very nice. Anyway, yeah, islands. This timeline loves islands. And rivers, large rivers and bays and seas snaking inland. Loyalty makes you family. Yeah, the islands of Gulf of California. Yeah, Channel Islands, no way. I thought Catalina was shaped like a fat banana. Yeah, it was sort of like a squished pear. I mean, it was, to me, way back, it was, fairly ordinary shaped. It did not have a big, nearly calved off section. Lately, lovely locks. Yeah, Santa Catalina now. Originally only Catalina. Santa showed up right before last Christmas, so we were joking that we got a Santa for Christmas. But yeah, it used to be just Catalina. I don't remember any islands on coast of California, Shari D. Yep, Catalina's been around for a while for me, but that was it. Now, a lot of these have military bases on them when they show up, which I find very interesting. So they're like, oh, well, you didn't know about them because they had a military base on it. It's like, no. Please look at Mount Rushmore. Okay, I'll do that in a sec. Hold on. We're almost at the end. Yeah, rock steady rain. Yeah, it was just Catalina up until about last year for me, about 1 year ago. All right, let's look at, I'm going to look at my old pictures of Mount Rushmore, and we can go in through the indicator Emmys. Hopefully they'll load in a timely fashion. Not too bad there. All right, we're at the white strip is under the blue for our flag. All right, we're looking at Rushmore. Okay, you can load. I don't know why the last few months my computer loads the images so slow. It's slower than my old computer, which was way cheaper. Okay. Interesting. All right, so the story before was the hand was holding the lapel. It does look like there's kind of a square wall here. The hand used to be kind of right on the lapel. We've been talking a long time about how this looks like a gun, but I have not been able to find any info on it. Now, it looks in this image that this is a little bit more defined here. There's more shadow here. Let's see. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, see, it's a little more defined in there. This area here looks a little larger than I remember it. This line here cuts this and these lines and this line was not all right here like this. This is something's new. All right, yeah. So you can see here the hand. This is new. I don't recognize this flat area. It used to be that the hand was on the lapel directly. So I don't know what this is. That is definitely new for me. Just kind of checking out some of the other ones. Let's see, some of my others have changed. Let's see. God, that one's gotten really green looking compared to this one looks really purple. Those two images did not used to look so different. The lighting has changed on them or something. Look at huge gouge right here. This was not here before like that. Not that deep. All right, let's see. I don't notice anything obvious on there. I mean, there's a bunch of old changes, but I don't really notice anything since the last time. I'm not going to look at these really hard. All right. Let's go back here. Oops, you know what? I didn't want to kill that page. Let's do it here. See if we can get any idea what that... I have looked for this thing before to see what that thing on the side of his face is, and there's no word on it. Look at this weird line here now on the side of his face. That's new. Looks like a discoloration going right where that wall is, goes straight up now. See, the line is on all of the images. That's different. That was not like that before. This is an interesting angle here. This reminds me more of how it used to be. But it used to be just the faces for me, and they were lower down on the wall. They didn't have all these flattened out areas for me. They had just nicely carved the faces, and then the rest of the mountain was its normal, natural state. In this timeline, they have all the shaved out area, and it could be that these are going to get bigger later, just as Washington has gotten the lapels and stuff now. But so that looks just kind of defaced to me very much because there's so much scraped off area. All right, here it is from the side. See, it still looks like some kind of weird gun thing. I'm waiting for Lincoln to have a giant rifle in his hand or something. Weird. So weird. But yeah, so far nothing. Well, I haven't looked in the last few weeks, but I have not been able to find any. And that's just ridiculous because there should be, what's that thing on the left side? Lincoln's left cheek. I mean, there definitely should be someone explaining what that obviously carved out thing is. Abe Lincoln diagnosed with facial defect. Contemporaries noted his left eye at times drifted upward independently of his right eye. So he has lazy eye in this timeline. Mount Rushmore sculptor Gutzon Borglum described the left side of Lincoln's face as primitive, immature, and unfinished. When Lincoln was a boy, he was kicked in the head by a horse. The room behind Lincoln's face. That's what I keep finding every time I try to look for anything else. All right, this is the first time I've seen this, though. But that still doesn't explain why there's a giant gun on the left side of his face. Dang, he's got caved-in cheekbones in that one. The left side of Lincoln's face was much smaller than the right, an aberration called cranial facial microsomia. The defect joins a long list of ailments, including smallpox, heart illness, and depression, that modern doctors have diagnosed in Lincoln. Last I checked, he also had Marfan syndrome. All right, so he had lazy eye and a mashed-in microsomia face in this timeline. Lincoln's smaller left eye socket may have displaced a muscle controlling vertical movements. Severe strabismus led to double vision and can be treated today by surgery. Lincoln's appearance was mocked by his political enemies. Very interesting. Okay, well, still no explanation for the rest of it, though. Check this story on Nat Geo Channel on Monday, November 11th, just before 9:30. A mysterious rumble rolled around the world. All right, let's check that out. Then there might be some typos, but that should get me there. Strange waves rippled around the world and nobody knows why. All right, let's check this out. Instruments picked up the seismic waves more than 10,000 miles away, but bizarrely nobody felt them. November 11th, that was, I guess, this year. The seismic waves began 15 miles off the shores of Mayotte, a French island. The wave buzzed across Africa, blah, blah, blah. They rang for more than 20 minutes, and yet it seemed no human felt them. Only one person noticed the odd signal on the U.S. Geologic Survey's real-time seismograph displays. All right, how big was the ripple? Why are the low-frequency waves so weird? It does not say how strong they were. There's no Richter scale reading or anything. I mean, let's see. Elkstrom thinks the events on the morning of November 11th actually did begin with an earthquake of sorts equivalent to magnitude 5. It passed by largely unnoticed, but it was what's known as a slow earthquake. These quakes are quieter than their speedy cousins since they come from gradual release of stress that can stretch over minutes. Okay, well, they're saying nobody noticed and nobody felt it. So if they expected us to feel it, it would have to be pretty strong, but they're not giving a magnitude, which is weird. Oh, wait. Here we go. Nope, 5.8 at the source, but... weird. I've noticed some changes in Egon Schiele's artwork, but most people aren't familiar with them. Yeah, I've never heard of them, so I can't help you on that one. I think every art thing I know has changed, though. Can you think of one that hasn't? I mean, even art in my house has changed. No walls on top of their head for me. Yeah, originally for me, they were just partway up the mountain. They weren't at the top. Now there's another mountain behind that sometimes gives that look, but... The carving, also the stone is lower quality in this timeline. It was very nice stone before. It didn't have all those fissures in it. We're talking about Rushmore. Jugular veins, now there are 4, 2 on each side, inner and outer. Yes, I did cover that somewhere. The jugular veins. But yeah, I agree with you. There used to just be one jugular. Some words are beginning to flip back to my original memory. That or autocorrect is slipping. There have definitely been some that have flipped back and forth for me. Definitely had changed, and now it's changed back. Are you talking about the Eleanor, let's see. It was, let me see if this is still the... Delano. See, for me it was Delano Roosevelt. but it's now Delano Roosevelt. Mandela. That was an older one. Yeah, it used to be Franklin Delano Roosevelt, not Delano. And at the time, only in April. At the time that we discussed this, somebody even found like this Delano lake with an R still on it, which was weird because if that wasn't, and it was in the Roosevelt National Park. So, let's see if I can find that one, Delano Lake. So if his name was never Delano and the lake was named, there it is. The lake was named after him, then why is it named Delano? Why isn't it Delano? That was like a really weird piece of residual. That one really stuck in my head. Yeah, there it is. See, it's the F.D. Roosevelt State Park, and it's Lake Delano. But his middle name was Delano, so makes no sense. Very weird residual. If his name changed, why not change the lake? But nope. Did you notice the other day news about shifting the former torch of Statue of Liberty? What, moving it? You know, in my timeline, there was just one torch, and she was still holding it. And it was a tall flame. Now it's like small and pushed to the side. And it was just made out of the same metal as the rest of the statue, green tone metal. And there was no gold ever on it. So the whole idea of moving the original torch makes me laugh because I did not have, I don't even know what this is. I mean, that is the ugliest, weirdest looking bunch of crap. My old flame was like bars that made like into a flame shape. They weren't all filled in, painted gold and all this crap. I don't know. That just looks like a blob to me. All right, so what? Let's look at the regular story now that I'm done complaining about the new ugly torch. Was moved across Liberty Island to its new home yesterday in preparation for the opening of Statue of Liberty Museum. It has been on display inside the statue's pedestal, accessible only to ticketed guests. The new museum will be open to all visitors to the island, not just those who climb the pedestal and statue. All right. Just want to take a quick look at it to make sure that it doesn't, yeah, that's not how it was. It looks like a stuck pig. My original torch was like open air. I don't recognize that thing. That's just weird. I don't even know what that is. Anyways, no, that wasn't it. It looks completely alien to me. I remember thinking Delano was a weird... Well, they're both weird names, but it was Delano for sure. For me, anyway. The spelling even looks ridiculous on Zimmern. Yeah. What, it's Zimmern now? Andrew Zimmern. Are you serious? That's a change for me. I have not looked at that one in a while. No. Okay, okay. All right. This is the Mandela for me. Okay. Okay, that's weird. All right. For me, he was originally Andrew Zimmerman. And the Mandela was he changed to Andrew Zimmer. It wasn't Zimmern. It was Andrew Zimmer. Zimmern. It was Zimmerman, and then it was Zimmer. Okay, so I guess in this timeline it changed to Andrew Zimmern. But that's not right. I mean, this ME is also an ME for me. This is an ME times 2. Zimmerman changed to Zimmer. There was no N on the end. So that's a second change for me. Yeesh. It's been a while since I looked at that one, so I don't know when that one changed, but it changed. The torch of the Statue of Liberty is crazy. Yep. It was Andrew Zimmer, not Andrew Zimmern. Last year at least. For me, I don't know. I was in the Andrew Zimmer universe for a while. Robert De Niro is now Robert De Niro. That is actually my original, De Niro. It looks weird for me combined, so. Oh, is a lot one word again? Really? Remember, the word a lot does not exist unless you mean the Indian town of Alat. Okay. A lot is not one word again. Sorry to break it to James Johnson. Maybe it was for a few minutes, but it's back to not existing. You almost got me on that one. I was checking. Yeah, it was for definitely it was DEFINATELY for a while. And now it's flipped back to ITELY. But that's actually the current one is my original, assuming it's still ITELY. That was my original. So that was a flip-flopper for me. I actually had a mental heuristic for remembering it, so I'm positive on that. Any of the spellings that I had special memory techniques for, I can be pretty sure about. Because I've used those memory techniques since I was a kid. Angela Ritter, welcome. Yep, I'll be on a little bit longer, but you probably missed most of it because it's already been about 2 hours now. There are 3 Mount Rushmores. Let's check that out. How big are the other ones? Is Mount Rushmore finished? Yeah, there's that Crazy Horse Memorial. I don't know if you know about that one. I first heard about that a few years ago. Supposed to be, if they finish it, it'll be a lot bigger than Mount Rushmore. If they finish it. But, you know, the ME will probably get it done when the ME wants it done. I suspect this is another ME thing. They've got the whole head done anyways. Okay, so this is what it's supposed to look like. There's the head. And they're going to do a whole hair, a whole body, and the horse's head and foot. So they just have the head right now. It's going to be really big. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that thing... okay, here's a small scale version. I wouldn't be surprised if that thing got done one way or another. Sorry, James. Don't worry, something else will flip back, I'm sure. There's so many spelling ones. It just... I don't even know how to spell anything anymore. Nefertiti ears and nose. Oh man, I'm not as good with real humans. Let's see. Oh, interesting. She just looks more, I don't know. Cheeks caved in more. Nose is a little bigger. She does look different to me. She looks more modern, I want to say. She just doesn't look like something from back. It used to look more Egyptian stylized. Interesting. Those eyebrows, the big rounded eyebrows too, I don't... Okay, even I can tell she looks different. Looks more European. Yeah, she doesn't look Egyptian. Pocahontas. There's a lot of people said there's been changes in the story of Pocahontas. I don't know that story well. Yeah, we're in overtime. See, I was doing so well, but then once I get yakking. All right, it's getting late. I got to go to work tomorrow, so probably going to shut this off here in a sec. I think it's time for me to head out. But anyway, thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it. And let's see, where are we here? So, this is Eva signing off. Once Upon a Timeline. Thank you.